Yeah, so I actually am from the Gypsy community. Weirdly, I also work in technology as well, so it's a pretty good overlap for somebody like me who builds apps for a living. Um, yeah, so technology is, it's getting out of hand really when it comes to policing and the Home Office, the security services. Um, we don't have privacy anymore. There is, and as Katrina was saying, we are heading towards what can only be described as an authoritarian police state, and people don't realise we're sleepwalking into this, and it's only marginalised communities that we see the brunt of it. Like, we're the people they experiment this technology on. Like, we are the guinea pigs. And I always say this to people, and also places like Northern Ireland, where, as much as I might disagree with some of the people that are protesting and things like that, look at the way policing is experimented on those people in Northern Ireland with riot police and everything else. And the same technology, like they were deploying drones with gas canisters and things like that to disperse people. Like, this is the kind of thing that we're heading towards. It's no shock to us from our community, as many of the other people here from their communities, to experience violence and brutality from the police. Like, look at the evictions from Dale Farm and the rest of it. Look at the way young boys from our community are racially profiled. They're driving a van, they get stopped all the time, get accused of stealing, this, that, and the other, basically, when they've not done it or whatever. Happens, very common. Police brutality is very common. A man almost lost his leg. It was nearly chewed off by a police dog that was out of control, whilst the handler was saying racial slurs, and he actually got acquitted recently. An Irish traveller woman gets dragged across a common land while she's pregnant and epileptic, so violently she has an epileptic fit. This is the sort of violence that we're seeing. When we were seeing those protests against the bill in Bristol and places like that, and then we saw the Sarah Everard vigil, this isn't the first time that we've kind of gone to this rodeo. And I'm sure other communities that are in London, like the black community and all around the country, experience racialized policing. And one thing I always find that's quite interesting is that people often think that this is a city issue because this is where minorities are mostly. This isn't a city issue. Cornwall and Devon, Somerset and Avon are some of the worst, most brutal and violent police forces in the country towards minorities, actually. And the Welsh police, the Valleys police, also very brutal. What I wanted to talk about really is, like I say, it's a broader theme. It's not just about technology and fingerprinting. We know that our community will be fingerprinted if this gets, rolled out to the rest of the country. We know that. And simply, we also know that, the kill the bill stuff that's going on, the police crime courts and sentencing bill, when it comes to our community, is going to be absolutely brutal. So I'll quickly explain the situation for our community in this country. So there's a massive shortage of permanent sites. There's a massive shortage of transit sites. There's also a massive shortage of negotiated stopping. So it's where communities come to an area, they have nowhere to go. And instead of being on the cricket pitch, the council goes, actually, we've got an alternative piece of land that you can live on for a brief period of time. We'll provide you with toilets. We'll provide you with rubbish disposal, and therefore you don't leave a mess or whatever. And then you can do what you need to do and then move on. So there's a massive shortage of that. This bill, Section 4 of it, as we all know, it's a 307-page bill, and it includes all sorts of things that will target racialized communities like ours, like secure schools, for example, which is bridging the prison, the school to prison pipeline, basically. And these schools will be run by G4S and the rest of them and all the dodgy academy trusts that we already know do horrible things, like police, the hairstyles of, black pupils, students with hijabs and things like that. They already are discriminating against these pupils. They're already expelling and suspending people from our community at a massively increased rate. But Section 4 of this 307-page bill suggests that it doesn't suggest the solution to providing us, the 15 to 20% of our community that still live nomadically. It doesn't suggest providing them with somewhere to live, whether that be temporarily or permanently. What it suggests is £2,500 fines for a community that's often socially and also economically excluded. So we tend to be on the poorer side of things when it comes to socioeconomic standing. £2,500 fines, 3-month prison sentences. Now, the worst part about 3-month prison sentence for unauthorized encampments, basically you're criminalizing a form of homelessness. It's as simple as that. You want to solve homelessness, provide people with somewhere to live. It really is that simple. So the issue with the 3-month prison sentences, if you put somebody's parents in prison for 3 months, what happens to their children? Well, their children get taken into care. And there's already a history in this country of people forcibly adopting Gypsy and traveller children and putting them into the care system, where their outcomes are often terrible. But obviously, whilst this is happening, you're being stopped by the police. And obviously, this technology will be used to keep an eye on where you are, who you are, where you'll be, and things like that. So, yeah, that is a problem. Then, like I already explained, we often experience police, stereotyping, police profiling, and police violence, really. This bill also gives the police forces the ability to seize goods, including trailers, which is, people from our community's homes, and also their vehicles, which they use for work and to feed their children. So that's what it does. So basically, it's racialized pogroms, essentially. A community that's been here, lived this way of life for over 500 years in this country, is now, their way of life is being completely destroyed. And a lot of us live in houses or whatever now, and it's not so much of an issue. That we still experience the policing side of things, by the way. We still experience the 12 years lower life expectancy. We still experience the mass expulsions, suspensions from schools. We still experience the school to prison pipeline. All these things we still experience. But this particular bill is aimed at tackling unauthorized encampments. Well, if you want to tackle unauthorized encampments, provide authorized encampments. If you want to tackle rubbish, give people access to rubbish disposal like you do your other constituents. It really is that simple. If you want people to pay council tax, well, approve authorised sites where people will be able to then pay council tax. And I'll give you a little microcosm of the situation in the UK. Now, Labour's often seen as like the progressive party in this country, I guess. Like, we don't see that on the ground, and many other communities also don't see that on the ground, unfortunately. But in Warrington, they had the shadow women and equalities minister handing out racist, dodgy leaflets about our community and unauthorised encampments in the local elections. Well, that same council, Warrington Council, has got a massive Labour majority, and yet they were handing out these leaflets whilst they were sitting on £2 million worth of funding for a transit site in their area, which they've had for a long time, and they haven't even commenced building it. So they've identified the problem that we don't have anywhere to live, but they're still using us as a political football in local elections. And, we get often MPs like Jess Phillips and the rest of them. The Conservatives are even worse. Let's not even go there. Let's not even start that. They're the people that are putting this bill into action. They're the people that are making this a hostile environment, not just for migrants anymore. We should have all spoke up for migrants already when they came for migrants, when they came for the disabled. Now they're coming for Gypsies, Roma and travellers. Now they're coming for, the black community. The Tories have already been historically bad on that anyway. Look at the way they treat Black Lives Matter, which is, a movement to say that, we should be treated equally like everybody else. And they treat it like it's some sort of I don't know, an insurrection or something. I have no idea where they get it from. It's just atrocious. All it is about is just basic equality. And this is where, one thing I would plug is the fact that Sisters Uncut, a movement led by, Black women and minority women, are leading the way on this. They got this bill delayed already once. Let's follow their lead and try and get it pushed back forever, basically. Let's make this law ungovernable. When laws become ungovernable, they get repealed. We have to make it ungovernable. And it's okay, a lot of charities saying, oh, we can't do this, that, and the other. We can't get involved in it. But they've already shown with Stonewall, the Runnymede Trust and the rest of them, they will come for you as well, unfortunately. They will come for the trade unions. They are banning the right to protest. That also includes people that are striking, by the way, so trade union activity. So basically all I would say is from our side of things is that, yes, this technology that they're using is important, right? And they shouldn't be using it in this way, and they shouldn't have it in the first place. The police can't be trusted with the power they already have. We already saw that in the Sarah Everard vigil. Communities like ours have seen this for decades, since the beginning of time. They can't be trusted. So why are we giving them more power? Why aren't we using all this money that they're going to use to, invest in grassroots sport and this, that, and the other, and invest in our communities, making sure that we're not socio-economically excluded, that we're not getting excluded from schools and suspended from schools. But yeah, that's all I really want to say, is really highlight the fact that Section 4 of this bill is ending the nomadic existence as we know it, and ending, our community's culture, Irish travellers as well. This is the end. It's just, they talk about conservation and being conservative. Well, they're not. What are they preserving? What are they conserving? Well, it's just freedom for white rich newspaper moguls, basically. That's what it seems like. But everybody else, they're meaning, so you can't go to your doctor, you can't go to your teacher and have these conversations that you could usually have in confidentiality. They're making that so those conversations are now policed, that people will report your own people that you think are meant to be people that you trust are now becoming agents of the state. Like, it doesn't get much worse than that. And like I say, in this bill, people from our community face losing their children. That's how serious this is. And like I say, all communities really have to stand together and fight this bill, and also fight the increase in police surveillance and the use of technology. Like, they're using a thing called a stingray at protests. So when you go to a protest, make sure you're not having your phone on and things like that, because they can access your phone. When they did Freedom of Information Act, they wouldn't tell you whether they were basically going into people's phones without their permission. So yeah, it's a very worrying development, and this is the start of a fascist police state, and they're gearing up. Yeah, they have to keep feeding people to the machine. This is what we don't understand, because once they stop feeding minorities to the machine, people go, well, who's the people with the power? Who's the people that run our society? And we all start blaming them. Well, they have to keep blaming us and keep feeding us to it, because that's how they keep, I guess, the ordinary person, or people, they keep them blinkered, I guess. So yeah, anyway, thank you for having me. Yeah, let's fight this bill.